guests and participants. When I was actually on the stage in the beginning, I was a little scared. When I was counting the number of speakers on the stage and the number of members in the audience, they seemed to be about the same. But things have improved. It reminded me of a story. A speaker was addressing an audience, and there was only one person sitting in the audience. And after the speech, the speaker thanked the person in the audience and said, "Thank you for staying," because everybody else left. And he was about to walk out. The person in the audience said, "You can't go now because I'm the next speaker." So I don't know if our situation is a little bit better. I'll go quickly. In the morning, those of you who heard our ambassador, our high commissioner, talk about digital Bangladesh, you probably heard some of the themes that we're focusing on. One is taking services to citizens' doorsteps, things that we're all talking about here in various forms and shape, and also taking our IT industry to the external world, making it an IT destination. But I'll talk about the former more importantly. The current government took office in early 2009, but in 2008, end of 2008, they published what is called a Charter for Change. It sounds a little like Obama, but it is a different Charter for Change. But that charter talked about poverty, human resource development, employment, health, and power and energy as the four key areas. And underlying all this, there is ICT-led or ICT-facilitated socioeconomic development, which we call Digital Bangladesh. I'll go quickly. There are a few focus areas. First one is change of mindset. We are talking about technology, we're talking about business process reengineering, but what we have found in Bangladesh, and I think it's true of many other countries, that if the bureaucracy and in many cases the politicians don't change the way they see service delivery, not as patronage to the citizens, but as their obligation, as their, the duty bearers have to think about who they have to report to, who they're accountable to. So that mindset is starting to change right now. And we're seeing that harassment is coming down, cost and time of service delivery is coming down, where we have introduced ICT. It's been few and far between. There are one-stop shops spreading across the country. There are 4,500 union parishads, which are the panchayat-like local government institutions in the country. All of them have ICT centers, which are functioning like ICT one-stop shops. And one slogan that we have started to coin is that citizens will not go to services, services will have to go to citizens. Focus number 2 is demonstration and upscaling. The fonts are probably too small for you to see the statistics, which is probably not bad, but we are actually seeing some very promising results. The ePurji system, the SMS notification to sugarcane farmers to ask them to bring their sugarcanes to mills have been upscaled from 2 mills in 2009 to 15 mills, 15 sugar mills of the country in 2011. The union parishads that I talked about, it's been upscaled from 30 union parishads to all 4,500 union parishads in the country in a span of about 1.5 years. So that's the kind of upscaling that we are actually seeing in the country very, very quickly. Early warning, we are just doing it in two districts of the country out of the 64 districts, but that's also being upscaled as we speak. And about 1/3 of the population in those 2 districts have received early warning system through cell phones, which is a location-based service. And this demonstration and upscaling has done a number of things. One is that it has given confidence to the policymakers that ICT actually can help improve service delivery. It wasn't, I mean, since ICT is a fairly new thing for Bangladesh, within the government, we've been really dabbling in it for about maybe 5 years, a bit more. The previous efforts to e-governance, I won't call service delivery efforts. They were mostly automation efforts. So in the last few years, the policymakers are starting to see that ICT can actually improve the lives of citizens. So it's giving them confidence. For the citizens, it's giving them a demonstration that ICTs can actually help them in many different ways. There is e-Totthokosh, which is basically an encyclopedia where about 200 partner organizations are working to aggregate livelihood information, multimedia information. There are district portals in every district, and there is a national portal which allow you to download forms, fill it in, and they don't allow to submit forms yet, but that's a service that's coming. 700 new e-services have been identified, and all the different departments of the government are working in tandem, in parallel, to actually realize these services. We have done different kinds of interesting partnerships with private sector. There is financial inclusion with mobile operators and insurance companies who are taking microinsurance and mobile banking to the union parishads, to the last tier of local government. There is British Council developing English resource centers for the migrant population, where there is a large number of migrant population, again in the union parishads. We heard about National Population Register in an earlier session. So Bangladesh is also trying to develop a National Population Register. It's in the planning stage right now, and I would say that work on the ground hasn't started yet, but it's going to be a groundbreaking effort as far as interoperability is concerned. There's already an interoperability framework published, but the real National Population Register, which will make it all come true, hasn't happened yet. The third focus is development of ICT infrastructure. What happened about 15 years ago is that Bangladesh Railway gave its fiber pair to Grameenphone, which is owned mostly by Telenor. And that caused the cell phone revolution in the country. A similar thing has just happened. The Power Grid Company of Bangladesh has given its fiber pair to the private sector so that a similar revolution could happen in the broadband. And we have identified about 156,000 institutions around the country for this revolution. Focus number 4 is leadership development. And we heard today that technology only contributes only a small part to the e-governance revolution. It's mostly business process engineering and change management. So what we have seen is development of e-governance focal points in every ministry and a coordination effort from the Prime Minister's office. Execution through partnership, planning and coordination. I talked about that. We have formed a strategy document that is being incorporated in the 6th five-year plan as we speak. So basically, the ICT priority is becoming sectoral priorities in the country in health, education, agriculture, and different types of rural development policies. The lesson learned, I'd like to take 2 more minutes, if I may. What I said earlier is that the focus up until very recently has been on automation. So a lot of hardware procurement, systems that focused on automating a particular function of the government without looking at how that automation will serve the citizens. That tide has been starting to change. The Purji example that I talked about, sugarcane farmers, all we needed to do was to set up a server that would send out on a particular schedule SMS notification to the farmers. And take a previous approach, what would we have done? Basically, we would start identifying the payroll, HR, all kinds of different processes within the sugar mills and would automate them first. And probably money would run out and the citizens and the sugarcane farmers would never benefit. So that's a significant change in the way we're doing things. Bottom up, I talked about union parishads. I didn't talk about the cities. We have not touched the cities yet. In the last 2.5 years of working, we have not touched the cities too much. We're focusing on the union parishad, which is the lowest tier of local government. But at the same time, there is policies and there is plans happening at the top. So the top policymakers are developing the policies and plans, but the implementation is actually happening in the ground. Oleg talked about co-creation. We're actually seeing interesting examples of co-creation through different blogs. There is a large number of bloggers in the country, among the youth obviously, but we're also seeing grassroots blogs where rural teachers are developing content and sharing multimedia content across the country, from one end of the country to another. And that's actually helping the government because they don't have to create content now. The teachers are doing it. Similarly, entrepreneurs at the rural level, they're developing a lot of content and sharing across the country. I think we're learning from mistakes. We're learning primarily from other people's mistakes. I think many countries have made mistakes in terms of focusing on automation and realizing after spending a lot of money and time that it should really start with e-services. I think we're learning from their mistakes. We're also learning from our mistakes. We made some mistakes in the beginning and we're learning from that. One thing we're seeing is that we need to provide incentives to the policymakers, and the e-leaders. The type of incentives that we need to provide truly in terms of performance management, that does not exist in Bangladesh. So there is no performance management, so to speak. So what we're trying to do is to develop sessions like this and recognizing efforts, championship efforts. That's an informal approach, but it's actually starting to work. Talked about the quick wins. There are about 700 quick wins. These are small pilots, proofs of concept that are generating confidence within the bureaucracy to deliver e-services. And we're now starting to work on performance dashboards. Every district of the country now has a performance dashboard that will be put in place by the end of September. We have 10 districts already covered. The rest of the 64 districts are already coming online. So that will be a tool for accountability and also for excellence. Thank you very much.